And now, let's recommit and affirm our UU values. I'll say a bit, and then there are words for you to repeat. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are, well, interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Pluralism.
We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Justice.
We work together to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive.
Transformation. We adapt to the changing world.
Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope.
Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness.
May our
commitment to these values fill our lives with love. I'd like to share with you a formative moment in my life. I have shared this story with some of you before, so please forgive my repeating it. My mother is very Catholic. She brought us to church every week, and she taught CCD, which are Catholic Catechism classes, for 16 years. My grandmother was even more Catholic. She was the secretary for the pastor at her parish for more than 30 years, working at the church for many hours each day. My sister and I went to our CCD classes on Tuesday afternoons and church with my mom on Saturday or Sunday without too much complaining. We knelt by our bedsides and said prayers with my mother each night before falling asleep. And then in 9th grade, I took my confirmation classes to become an adult in the church. It was a big moment in our family. As I was dutifully studying my Nicene Creed, which is the longer version of the Apostles' Creed, we believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen. We believe in one Lord, Jesus Christ, the only Son, our God, eternally begotten of the Father. I realized I don't believe this. And I questioned, is it okay to stand up in front of my church congregation and profess something I don't believe? Isn't lying a sin? I went to my mother, and I told her I didn't think I could get confirmed and become an adult in the church because I didn't believe everything I was required to say. And she told me it was okay. She said that faith is complicated and that most Catholics don't believe it all anyway. She still wanted me to get confirmed. She said I might want to get married in the church one day. She said that we don't know how our faith will grow and change and what I might think and feel in years to come. She told me that she wanted to know that she completed my Catholic upbringing. It was really important to her, and I appreciated that. And lastly, she said that if I get confirmed, I never needed to go to church again. However, she said I needed to choose some religion and attend services every week. I picked Zen Buddhism, and my mom drove me a half an hour each Friday to meditate and chant with the monks at the temple near our home in New England. She waited in the car for 60 to 90 minutes while I was there and then drove us home. Through her actions, my mom taught me how important religion or spirituality is, and not just to her, but to the fabric of our lives. In letting me choose a faith, she taught me that all religions are valuable and that there is not just one right path. And she taught me to appreciate the sacred in whatever form it takes. I went on in college and in graduate school to study the sacred and the profane and the liminal space in between the two. It was Mircea Eliade's 1959 book, The the sacred and the profane that made a deep impression on me. In it, he writes, "The experience of sacred space makes possible the founding of the world. Where the sacred manifests itself in space, the real unveils itself, and the world comes into existence." When I honor small, special moments in my life, the world feels more real, more alive, and more special. I cherish traditions from my childhood that I have continued with my own children and new ones we have developed since they were born. I love connecting with friends over steaming lunchtime soups. I love preparing dinner for my family at home each night, lighting a candle and saying grace before eating. I look forward each week to coming and spending Sunday mornings with all of you. And my favorite time each day is snuggling under the covers and reading books with my children before bed. This quiet moment resets and calms all of us before drifting off to sleep. To this day, I strive to hold space for the sacred in everyday moments in my life. Thank you. Sorry. Please join us in singing Our World is One World, number 134, in the Gray Hymnal. The words are on screen and in the order of service.
I see the earliest roots of my personal journey to this faith, Unitarian Universalism, in my childhood. The first book of the Bible begins, "God created the heaven and the earth." And as a tiny little child, as I was looking out on the waves of Lake Huron, watching them lap the shore, I felt, yeah, this is truly heaven. It was in this sacred space, this spot between land and sea, that liminal space that Jane was talking about, that was where my journey, my spiritual journey, first began. I was born in the Canadian town of Sarnia, Ontario. I'm the youngest of two daughters, and I was raised by two hippie parents. My parents found each other through sharing common ground against the war in Vietnam, and they had a particular aversion to authority, including the authority of religion. My father was raised a devout, he was the son of ultra-devout parents in Dublin, Ireland. And my mother's French-Canadian father used to rouse the household up at 5 a.m. by bellowing hymns with his deep baritone voice. These are deep traditions, and it takes a lot to let go. So when my folks had my sister and I, that's my dad and my mom, although they had long left the church, they still had a slight worry about the souls of their daughters. So we were baptized, and we were, decked out in white for our first communion, and we were sent off to Catholic church every Sunday, despite my mom and dad only going on Christmas Eve and Easter. But, no. Attending church once a week, that was not enough. We were also sent to Catholic schools. Now, this is where we prayed every morning in class, and then we had a mass every Friday. It was here that my first curiosity about organized religion emerged. Like, what was up with all the bells and the smells? So I became an altar girl. And soon it was me that was carrying the cross 3 times the size of me down the aisle. And there at Catholic school, we also learned about Jesus. And there's this image that arises in the mind when you speak of Jesus, particularly about children. It's that image of Jesus on the mountainside. And he's surrounded by kids, and everybody's really psyched to be there. And as a kid, I really wanted to be there too. Because school told me that was my role. My role in life was to please God. But honestly, my first memory of Jesus, it's not that pleasing. It's terrifying. I was sitting on our gymnasium floor, and it had cold tiles, because it was always cold in Canada. And I was listening to our principal give a speech, and he was telling us that Jesus was coming back, and he's gonna be super mad to see the state of this world. Oh boy, I remember thinking, I really don't want that. So maybe that explains why, when I was turning 8, I asked my mother for a Bible for my birthday. Oh, my poor mother. She looked at me like I grew 3 heads. She's expecting a Barbie. But still, to her credit, I got a Bible. And to her surprise, I actually read it. Parents, this is a warning sign. Your kid might be a minister. Reverend Amy, when she was here in her ministry, she often spoke of spirals, of it as a symbol of going deeper in life. As writer Barry H. Gillespie wrote, "The path isn't always a straight line. It's a spiral. You continually come back to things you thought you understood, and you see deeper truths." So another chapter in my spiritual understanding of this world and my part in it fell into unknown territory as the spiral of my life extended. We moved from Canada to Baton Rouge. There's me as in my first communion clothes. When we moved from Canada to Baton Rouge, we swimming in the lake and playing in the snow, that was replaced with running on the levee and sweating. It's really, really hot, no matter what time of year. So instead of daily Catholic school, every Sunday night, our parents took us to the classes that Jane was talking about, to perhaps counter the dastardly indoctrination we were now getting at the local Episcopalian school that we attended during the week. And I also made new friends in my neighborhood who attended public school. And I learned they never had to go to chapel. Well, by the time I was 14, I was really getting sick of the religious indoctrination. It wasn't just all the chapel services. It was the hypocrisy, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the idea of religion, the idea of spirituality, it still had its hold on me. The spiral was beckoning me to continue onwards, to go deeper, to keep on seeking. After all, the Bible itself says, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Seek and ye shall find. And I did on Google, Dogpile, Expedia, I can't remember anymore. I spent my early adolescence on the internet, and I was reading about world religions, and I had questions, a lot of questions. My core Catholic upbringing taught that anyone who refuses the message of salvation from Jesus is condemned to an eternity in hell. And that didn't seem fair to me. I didn't understand why a person, let's say, that was living as a Buddhist or a Muslim and who was living a good and moral life could be condemned to hell just because they didn't believe in Jesus. And I remember arguing with my confirmation teacher about this, and he was just a flat wall. It is what it is, he replied. And I was not satisfied with that answer. It seemed to me to be completely contradictory to the commandment of Jesus that says, love thy neighbor as thyself. How was loving thy neighbor sending them to hell? I was finding my own way into universalism, even though I didn't have the words for that then. Universalism, it comes from the Christian tradition, and it's the opposite of fire and brimstone, of burning in hell. It's the teaching of the open mind and heart. It says we're all going to heaven no matter what our sins are on earth. We're all going, and we're all going together. So I decided then not to get confirmed into the Catholic Church. And I was preparing for the ultimate mission in my 14-year-old mind, letting my parents know of my heathen decision to leave the church. So I wrote out a point and counterpoint, I practiced, and I was ready for the debate of my life. So here's the scene. My mother is at the kitchen. She's washing the dishes, and her back is to me. I entered the kitchen, I took a deep breath, and I immediately launched into all my reasons with passion. And my mother, she didn't even turn around. She didn't even act surprised. She just said, okay, you don't have to go anymore. I was blown away. How easy it was to deny the so-called true church. It's free. The spiral in my life, it turned deeper. My religious book collection, it grew thanks to all the recommendations I was getting online. And, as an edgy teenager who was rebelling from strict Catholicism, living in the South, right next to New Orleans, paganism was my next stop. And, what interested me about paganism beyond that was how it urged me to question how religion as an idea evolved and how religion could be used as a tool to control people, which kind of reinforced my idea to stay away from organized religion for the time being. I also really liked the pagan emphasis on nature. I was a Girl Scout. I've had a better time outside than I did at a school dance. And paganism also taught me that our relationship to the divine is something that's immensely personal to each one of us. I also really liked crystals. There were other young pagans in my little corner of Baton Rouge. We were all around 14, 15, found each other online. And we were young outsiders, trying to forge our way in the Bible Belt and finding power and confidence in Wicca, yes, but also in each other. Our faith grew not because of us trying to cast spells, but because of our relationship with one another. We had community. We had connection. My tiny coven didn't last as friends moved away and graduated. And paganism, as fun as I found it, it didn't settle my heart nor answer all my questions. So I found myself still seeking. My next step towards Unitarian Universalism came when I took a maybe infamous quiz. It's a BeliefNet online quiz. If you're of a certain era, you might know it. It's called What Religion Am I? And I took the quiz, and the results, Unitarian Universalism. I didn't know what the hell that was. From reading the description of it, I didn't think it was anything I could find in my little corner of Baton Rouge. So I graduated high school, and then I attended Agnes Scott College, which is a tiny college outside of Atlanta. There I had opportunities to travel, and I unexpectedly found my future spiritual home. It was at the club fair, and I saw they had a Unitarian Universalist club. Whoa, I remember that. So it was like the spiral of my life was nudging me forward to continue to explore this faith. And so I did. I went a couple times, but I have to be truthful and say that Sunday mornings are a hard sell for a college student. After I graduated college, I moved back home to Louisiana, and my religious spiral re-emerged. I was looking for work. It was right after the 2008 crash, so my job search was not going well. I had a lot of free time. And I found out, there was a UU church in town. And I started attending the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. So the church, this is from their website, the church has a famous landmark in town. That huge circular window overlooks the outside from the sanctuary. And I used to sit there in the main hall and look out the window during services, watching the trees and the plants sway. And they always gave me comfort because it was like no matter what the topic was, what we were talking about, nature was there too. I think like it's here too. That tiny church in Baton Rouge truly took me in. They not only accepted that I had questions, they had questions too. And I arrived at this church ready for them to deny my pagan experience, to deny my sacred relationship to nature. But instead, I found that they shared the same values, and they expressed it in their services and rituals. I took my first steps into that community. I became a religious education teacher. I also took their UU 101 class. And then I started spending a lot of time in their church library. I was reading up on Unitarian Universalist history and theology, and the spiral of my life unfolded into revelation. Finally, I had language for what I believed, that the experience of the divine is not limited to a certain religion or group of people, that the holy expresses itself in so many different ways, that the point of religion isn't worshiping some entity, but it's taking care of each other. I finally got a job, and it took me far abroad from Baton Rouge. I left to teach English in Japan. After several years there, I moved to Sweden to study public health for graduate school with the goal of working in international development. But I could not stop thinking about religion. It was like an X. There's this cliche in ministry that the urge to do this work, to be a part of this sacred call, it's like a phone that won't stop ringing until you finally pick it up and say, yes, I'll go to seminary. I thought I had really found my place in the world, and I was going to leave religion to the pros. But as I prepared to write my thesis to graduate, and I returned to the States to write it, I found myself back at the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge in Reverend Steve Crump's office, leaning in and saying, "Okay, tell me everything you know about seminary." And so, after long discussions with him, I decided to at last answer that phone call. Then, in addition to writing my thesis, I found myself writing lots of applications and essays to seminary at the same time. It was a lot of writing. But still, I graduated with a master's in public health in May 2014 in Sweden. And then I immediately moved back to the States to start attending Meadville Lombard Theological School. One of the highlights of my seminary years, among many, was spending a month in Japan with the priest and the priestesses at a Shinto shrine. But that's for another sermon. I want you right now to think of your own spiral, to think of your own journey, to think of when you realized you were going deeper. Whether that had been realizing the sacred and profane when you look up at a huge redwood, or when you see it in the face of your neighbor. When in your own journey have you witnessed that vital spark of life that shines within us all in your fellow travelers? When have you felt love made manifest by someone else's words or actions? Where have you seen the gifts of your existence with your fellow humans and creatures on this beautiful world? In my travels both here and abroad, my exploration of the sacred keeps showing me that while humans, we are so different, we are also so similar. We are all traveling on our own spirals, discovering ourselves and each other. We all have hearts that can hurt and heal, minds that can think and imagine, bodies that desire connection with one another. And we're all swimming together in this vast ocean of life. And although I've long given up on the idea, God's here too. Hello? Let's just take a moment. Oh, there we go. Although I have long given up on the idea of heaven as an afterlife, I still believe that whether as atoms or something else, we're all going to the same place together after this. But until then, this beautiful world relies on us to make it into the one that we dream of. I've served as religious education professionals as a religious education professional at UU Church of Silver Spring, the UU Church of Berkeley, and then here in Palo Alto. And my enjoyment of the work and also my learning about the needs of church life continue every day. And while I do love being in the main hall, listening to sermons, I found my Unitarian Universalist wings in creating safe and fun places for kids and youth to ask their own big questions. In our classes, we learn by doing, we try out different spiritual practices, we hold mock elections, we read stories, we ask questions. Our classes are lively and talkative and messy and, yes, full of questions, just like coffee hour. And my favorite thing about this job, about this work, is sitting with those kids when they have their own questions and not denying them. It warms my heart to see the kids' own spirals begin to emerge out. It's so cool to sit together in the mystery, in those big questions, and wonder together. And it's even cooler that we're all a part of that in this community, that we're a place that not only encourages questions, but fosters them. That's something really magical. I've been seeking community my whole life, and I found community here with this church of questioners, rebels, and heretics. I'm devoted to building the work of this community for each and every one of us, no matter how old you are or what brought you through these doors today. So I say, blessings to all of us as we travel together on this beautiful blue dot in space, as we figure out what it means to be human right here, right now. May we all continue to explore our roots and find our wings as we journey forward together. Blessed be.
We create this space together, not out of wood and glass, nor even out of electricity and binary signals, but out of our presence. Wherever we are today, we have chosen to be together, hoping that together we can do so much more to make our lives into all that we dream of and make our world into the one we hope to see. If we are moved by gratitude to each other, we may choose to support with whatever financial resources we can this community that we are all creating and that is creating us. You can use cash or check or the QR code or text info in the order of service. The offering will now be given and received. Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely. Please join in singing Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in the Teal Hymnal. The words are on screen and in the order of service. We extinguish the light of our chalice with words by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
online or here in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for our conversation time. We begin with greeting time, a chance to speak to someone that you haven't met before or seen in a while. Now, if you're online, please unmute yourself and you can turn on your video, and Jane will show us how to touch hands while we say our benediction together. And if you're in the main hall, you can reach out to hold hands if the person next to you is comfortable, or to show that you are connected in spirit, you can also cross your hands over your heart. Go out into the world in peace, be of good courage, hold fast to what is good, return no evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, rejoice in beauty, speak love with word and deed, honor all beings.